Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. Hope everybody's doing great this week. Hope everybody's having a really great Monday. We're going to go ahead and talk about some great stuff today on our show. One topic is going to be our Louisiana connections. It's our college spotlight of the week. It's going to be the University of Virginia, which has several players on their team from Louisiana. We're also going to talk about our high school spotlight of the week, which is going to be St. Thomas More High School of Lafayette. And we've got 2 or 3 mailbag questions today. Our show's going to be a little shorter than normal, but it's going to be a really good show. I want to go ahead and get into our first segment, which is our college spotlight of the week, which is the University of Virginia. Head coach is Bronco Mendenhall, who used to be at Brigham Young University. This is a college, a great college known for academics, that's becoming a very good football school for football. Bronco Mendenhall left Brigham Young with a winning record. He's going into his 5th season for Virginia. At Virginia, has taken the team to great heights. Bowl games, which is really rare for Virginia. They don't go to bowl games all the time in football. But what's really impressive about Bronco Mendenhall's record as a college coach is that 14 out of 15 seasons, he's taken Brigham Young or Virginia to bowl games. That's really impressive. 14 out of 15 seasons combined between the two colleges. But let's talk about the players from Louisiana that are on this team. It all started with, I can only remember one player going to Virginia from Louisiana that made an impact. And this was after Hurricane Katrina. Tulane was coached by Chris Selfo. And it was a tough time for Tulane. And they had a kid by the name of Kerry Koch, who was a really good recruit out of Dunham High School in Baton Rouge. Kerry was signed as a wide receiver, running back, athlete. Well, Kerry transfers to Virginia for his final 3 years and does really well. I mean, does so well that he plays a long time in the Canadian Football League after he's done at Virginia. But Kerry Koch was the only player that I can remember that made a huge impact, in the last 20 years. And then since then, recently, this past week, Kiante Thompson, quarterback with Mississippi State, who really hasn't really hit his full potential yet, and might have, I think, if Dan Mullen would have stayed. The new coach was fired. Now they have another coach. But Kiante Thompson was a legend in New Orleans and Algiers for Landry Walker. Used to be called O.P. Walker, but Kiante was phenomenal. Led him to a state championship win over West Monroe. And I know West Monroe remembers Kiante Thompson very well, unfortunately. But Kiante Thompson is, 6'4", 6'5", about 220, 230 now. Runs a 4.5 40, has a cannon arm, can throw it 60 yards. It just never came together at Mississippi State. And I think Virginia's getting a kid that's getting close to being polished. And he's at the age now. He's going into his 4th year in college. He'll be a redshirt junior. And the sky's the limit. Kiante Thompson's a heck of a pickup for Virginia. Virginia, they're not out there signing 5-star quarterbacks or nationally top 300 quarterbacks. So it's really a position of need for Virginia. And we need to check into this. Kiante might have his degree because he just finished his 4th year, I think, academically. So Kiante might be eligible to play right away at Virginia. Other players that play at Virginia from Louisiana, I think people would find interesting, our audience would find interesting, is that Mike Hollins, a running back from University High that helped University High win a state championship over St. Thomas More High School 2 years ago in 2018. was really the catalyst of a talented team that had All-Americans all over the place. Michael Hollins is going to be one of their star running backs in the 2020 season as a true freshman in 2019 for Virginia. Mike played in all 12 games, had 112 yards rushing, averaged 8.6 yards a rush, which is pretty impressive as a freshman. Scored a touchdown on his first career carry. That's pretty cool. But Mike Hollins is looked at as a guy that's going to be one of their main two running backs, if not the guy, in 2020, because he had to back up some seniors. So just to play in 2019 was really impressive. They also have a big wide receiver from Plaquemine High School, Dontayveon Wicks, who's 6'1", 205 pounds, going to be a true sophomore, played as a freshman in 2019. Dontayveon has a ton of talent. Played in 10 games as a true freshman in 2019, had 2 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Dontayveon should be starting in the 4-wide package and will be a starter for them also, like Mike Hollins. So you're going to be hearing a lot of Louisiana boys in 2020 whenever we kick off this season for the University of Virginia. Also, a player for Virginia from Louisiana is Donovan Johnson, a big-time safety from Helen Cox High School in New Orleans. He'll be a true freshman that I think will letter or not possibly even start at free safety or strong safety. Will definitely be in the top 5 nickel package when they go to the 5 DBs. Like I said, it's exciting. Virginia is doing things they haven't done in a long time when under Coach Mendenhall. They made the 2019 ACC championship game, which they lost to Clemson. But, it's something to follow. Everybody's, Clemson dominates the ACC, and then, after Clemson, North Carolina's pretty up and coming right now with Mac Brown. He's done a great job keeping recruits in North Carolina. We've talked about that on the show about 2 months ago. And they're going to be interesting to follow. Virginia finished number 24 in the AP poll, 24th ranked team, which is really, again, a big thing for them. They're not, always finishing in the top 25 in the polls at the end of a season. Known for an academic school, becoming a good football school, under Bronco Mendenhall. But keep an eye on these Louisiana guys. I always like to point that out because, when we get to the meat of the season or after the season, people start pointing it out. I want to point it out before the season even starts, even before this summer. So hope everybody enjoyed this segment. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about our high school spotlight of the week, and that high school spotlight of the week is St. Thomas More High School in Lafayette, Louisiana. We'll be right back.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back, everyone. With the Sports Scouting Report, I'm Lee Brecheen. Also mentioned, download any show to support us. If you love the show, you'll be able to get future shows from us by it'll be on your phone, on your app. And if you don't have it on your phone, I would recommend, like me, I don't know, I was like a caveman. I had no idea what an app was. I didn't grow up in the app generation. I had to learn. Jay Slajern, my editor, had to show me. I wasn't really tech savvy. Still, I'm getting there. But But, try to, put an app on your phone if you don't already have one. I think it's a cool thing for people over 40 to learn. Definitely people under 40 are definitely already involved in this. But, load an app and then load one of our shows. Download, it's free. And that helps us grow. It helps us grow, and we can make the show really good. And that's the goal, is to have a great podcast and to make it better and better every time. We're going to go ahead and continue on in the show with our high school spotlight of the week, St. Thomas More High School in Lafayette. I think this is one of the hottest programs in the state right now, if not the hottest program. And I'm so happy for longtime head coach Jim Hightower, who's been at St. Thomas More over 30 years. And he's done a phenomenal job. He's won 2 state championships out of the last 3 years. He's played for a state title the last 3 years. And it took him over 30 years to win a state title at St. Thomas More. And now he has 2 state championships. So I'm really happy for him. He's a great guy, a wonderful person, a California native that moved to Louisiana. This is all told to me by Jim, and a lot of people that know Jim know this, that he's from California. And his first job was in New Roads. He came to Louisiana as a young coach and coached at Point Capee Catholic in New Roads and won a state title there. And on his staff was a coach by the name of Dale Weiner. Before Dale Weiner went on to Catholic High and had a great career and a Hall of Famer himself at Catholic High Baton Rouge. Just a little tidbit for you there. But Jim Hightower, has 3 state titles now total. 1 in New Roads at Catholic, and then 2 at St. Thomas More. And I'll tell you this. In 2020, St. Thomas More has a great chance to win their 3rd state title. And that would be 3 in 4 years, which is incredible. And if it wasn't for U-High having an NFL football team in 2018, they would have 3 state titles out of 3 opportunities right now. But, the NFL team they had at U-High was, we talked about Mike Hollins early on. They had the Roy kid was a junior on that team. They had, all those receivers. Micaiah Tongue that signed with Georgia. Christian Harris that went to Alabama, was a linebacker, receiver. Just talent everywhere. They had about 12 kids signed that 1 year, and 5 of them went D1. And also they had a great linebacker, Brighton Constantine, signed with Clemson, who hurt his knee as a freshman at Clemson and had to redshirt. But unbelievable program at St. Thomas More. This is a school not just known for football, too. They're great. They've won state championships in basketball, many of them in basketball, soccer. They've had great tennis teams, great baseball teams. Just a phenomenal. It's the program in Lafayette for all sports. And now it's the program in Lafayette for football outside of Acadiana High School. But what an incredible run this program's had, and it's not over. Some history of the team. Just some players that I've thought were some of the best to ever play there. Some are quite obvious that were the best, and I've watched St. Thomas More since 1996 when I got in the business. So I've been going to games off and on since 1996, and kept up with them prior to that. But Jamie Howard was one of the first players that I've ever covered and saw play. That was back before 96, and back in 92. Jamie was one of the top quarterbacks in the country, signed with LSU, and now his son Walker Howard is the quarterback for the 220 season. It's a program that produced some phenomenal players. Javon Walker was a receiver with the Oakland Raiders, and Green Bay Packers, was a great receiver. He ended up having to go to a junior college out of high school and ended up at Florida State, where he made All-American, and then he had a 7 or 8 year pro career in the NFL. Rocky Selfo, the late Rocky Selfo, I still think to this day was one of the greatest football players to ever come out of the school, and baseball players. Passed away way too young. Great kid, great athlete. Signed with LSU in baseball. Ended up transferring to UL for baseball. Spencer Tatum is a kid that went to Ohio University. Had an interesting story. Played DN at 6 foot, about 180. Ended up being a 220-pound linebacker. In his first play in college, he sacks Brock Berlin for the Florida Gators. I did Spencer Tatum's highlight tape. Actually, his dad, Coy, called me out of the magazine years ago, and I helped Spencer and Coy Tatum with his future, and helped him go to a prep school, Fork Union in Virginia. One of the kids that I'm very proud to work with, and he's now in Arizona, a great successful business person now. Mikey Matuk was a really good football player. People don't remember that. They remember him for his baseball pedigree, but Mikey Matuk was a phenomenal safety. And if Mikey would have chose football, I really believe he would be in the NFL today. I mean, heck, he made a great decision because he's in the MLB and he's had a long career, and went to LSU. But Mikey was one of the greatest defensive backs I've ever seen in Louisiana high school football as a safety. Was 6'1", 190, could run 4.5, and was a hitter. Had all the tools. And then you had John Corbello, was a kicker that signed with LSU, had a great career. Sam Schofield, a DB that went to Tulane, was basically a 4-year starter. Sam Schofield was a great hitter, great knack for the game. Andrew Stevenson, who's currently in the MLB, was a great football player. People forget that. He was a receiver in the program. He's done great with the Nationals. Lyle Mouton was a great baseball player out of the school. And Brandon Mouton was one of their best basketball players to come out, went to Texas University. And then there was Luke Lawton, who played in the NFL with the Colts in a Super Bowl, with the Raiders, a fullback, went to McNeese. The late Eras Otan, who died at a very young age, signed with the University of Florida, was on the cover of our magazine, Louisiana Football Magazine. 6'1", 245-pound fullback that ran a 4.6 40. And Cameron Dejon was another DB, a big guy that went to Tulane. I could go on and on and on about the players that have come out of the schools. So, if anybody ever says the school hasn't produced a lot of talent, I just told you that would rebuke that on all the names I just mentioned. And a lot of these kids I mentioned did great. There were several that went to ULL and USL, and some others that went to Tulane that did great from St. Thomas More. And they've got a lot of talent coming up. I think the team in 220, St. Thomas More, led by Walker Howard, who, by the way, is one of the most talented young quarterbacks I've ever seen in my 30-plus years. I had a chance to see Walker Howard in spring practice last year. And it wasn't just spring practice. It was a spring game, inter-squad spring game, where he really got his first time to play in front of fans. It was a sold-out stadium to the home fans. They brought about 4,000 people. And, Holstein is another great player that just graduated, the quarterback going to Louisiana Tech, threw for over 10,000 yards and 100 touchdowns. But Walker, even though he wasn't the starter in 2019, when I watched him in the spring game this past year, and I had a chance to see what this kid's capable of doing as a passer, his ability to run, he checks all the boxes. He just needs to get a lot of experience, and he will. He'll get it under fire in 220 against some tough teams. But Walker Howard, I think, is going to blossom and be a superstar. And he's going to have a chance to be better than his dad, Jamie, Jamie was a great football player in his own right. Jamie was just at LSU at the wrong time. I think if it was any other era, Nick Saban era, or even the Les Miles era, I think he would have been flourishing, because he was just not. They weren't ready for Jamie with his talent. Jamie was a great athlete that could throw the ball. And Walker's the same way. He's going to be bigger than his dad, and I just think he's going to be a lot better. I think he's going to be phenomenal. And Arch Manning, Cooper Manning's son at Newman, those two are two of the greatest young quarterbacks I've seen play at their age. For being 14, 15 years old, you would think these kids are in their mid-20s, the way they handle being on the field and under center. And like I said, Walker Howard hasn't really started a game. He's played some in 19, but I was able to go to the spring game where he got all his playing time behind Holstein, and he got 70 reps, and he was, I think about, it seemed like he was 18 and 19 in that spring game, and he had 3 or 4 touchdown passes that were just phenomenal. It's just to where young kids that age just can't make certain throws, and he can. It's going to be fun to watch him the next 2 years to see how he does. And, obviously, again, Arch Manning at Newman. And there's some other quarterbacks, but those two kids are phenomenally talented for their age. And you can tell it's because, they're both around football families. Arch Manning with his grandfather, Archie, his uncle Peyton, and also his uncle Eli. His dad Cooper went to Ole Miss and had a short career because of an injury, a career-ending injury. And then you got Jamie, who's a quarterback and has been around it his whole life. So hope you enjoyed the St. Thomas More High School football spotlight of the week. When we come back, we're going to have our mailbag. It's going to be a little longer, but I think you'll enjoy it. We'll be right back.
Like what you hear? Well, make sure to check out our website, lafootballmagazine.com, for all of the latest recruiting information statewide. This week, we catch up with Tiger linebacker Jacoby Brock, Zachary wide receiver Chris Hilton, and we also will provide NFL draft coverage on all the Louisiana natives and college football players selected. So if you want to get your recruiting fix, go to lafootballmagazine.com today.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope everybody's having a great Monday afternoon. Hope a great week for everyone. Again, prayers to all those that are struggling with this coronavirus or have family, relatives that are, praying for them, and praying for all everybody in the medical industry that's not getting any sleep the last 2 months trying to help people. And a shout out to everybody in the medical profession, the great job they do all across the country. We're going to go with our mailbag. That's when people write into us and have questions about anything. You can write in to lafootballmagazine.com to Lee Brecheen or Jace Lejeune. And just if you have a question, we'll just use your first name and the city you're from, but just your first name. Our first question comes from out of Baton Rouge, from Jason. Jason says, Lee, if there would be a college football, baseball season this year in Omaha, in Rosenblatt Stadium, who would be the winner? Who would win the national championship in college baseball? Well, Jason, that's hard to answer in a way because there's a lot of baseball fans, high IQ fans in the state. And baseball is a little different than football. You can kind of pick a winner in football or a couple or even basketball. But baseball is such a crazy different dynamic sport. But I'm going off of momentum. And I would say Vanderbilt would win back-to-back because of Rocker coming back on their staff. Tracy Rocker's son, who played defensive line at Auburn, his son is one of the best pitchers in the country, if not the best, 6'5", throws 99 miles an hour, basically dominated everybody he pitched to as a freshman last year in 19, and they won the national championship in 19. And the reason I say Vanderbilt, not just because of the pitching staff being superior and deep, but their hitting is better than anybody in the SEC. Even though they lost 3 of their top hitters, they signed 3 incredible players to replace them. And, unlike a lot of SEC teams, they actually redshirt All-Americans. Vanderbilt is the school to go to right now in the SEC for baseball. I think they have the best coach in the SEC in baseball. And that's kind of hard to swallow for a lot of LSU fans. But I guess the saving grace is for LSU fans, they don't win another one. And they lose that opportunity with some kids that are going to go pro. Or they have a problem, too. They got a loaded roster, and what are they going to do with all their loaded true freshman signees? I mean, Vandy, they're not used to kicking people off the team or letting people go. You know, they're usually signing academic/baseball players for school. And the advantage they have over a lot of people in baseball is they get, it's known as an academic Ivy League type of school. And so they get the best student athlete in baseball every year just about. Used to be Stanford, but now Vandy's getting a lot of the players that used to go to Stanford. And they're recruiting Massachusetts really good, New York. If you look at their roster, they have a lot of people from Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania. And then, you sprinkle that with Georgia and Tennessee and Kentucky players, and they're dominant. But, again, they lost the opportunity. I think they would have won it again. I don't think anybody else was even close on the pitching. And I think Rocker, as a Friday night starter, is the best in the United States. And he'll have one more year unless he's qualified age-wise to leave as a true sophomore. Not sure about that, but hopefully he's going to be out of here because he's phenomenal. And as long as Rocker's on that staff, they're going to be dominant. Our second question is from Lester from River Ridge, Louisiana. And he asked, Lee, what high school football team had the best defense in Louisiana in 2019? In high school football, who had the best defense? Lester, I would have to say that, results are proven facts. I will have to go with Archbishop Rummel. And for two reasons. One, I watched this special group of kids play for 4 years. Even though I'm not from New Orleans and I haven't been, I've been basically going to New Orleans for the last 22 years or watching film on all the teams. So I consider myself pretty knowledgeable of the players coming up out of New Orleans and take pride in that. But Rummel won the state championship in 2019 on the public side of Class 5A over Catholic High Baton Rouge. I didn't pick them because they won the state championship, the best defense. I picked the best defense for them because I thought it was a special group. I thought it was the best defense that Rummel's ever fielded talent-wise and as a group. And what proves that is that they had 7 defensive starters sign scholarships off that team, seniors. And they had 5 kids on offense, for what it's worth, that signed college scholarships. And it's going to be really difficult for Rummel to rebuild that defense like it was. There's no way they're going to be like they were in 19. Kind of like U-High being in the talent they had in 18 as a team. Even though U-High, was pretty good still, it's not the same. But Rummel's defense in 2019 is one for the ages. And I'm going to throw some names out. They're all going to be playing college ball, but, Malik Woodbury is a corner that signed college ball off that Rummel team, a phenomenal player. Quentin Cage was a strong safety that was going to college, another great player. Jordan Williams, a linebacker, was a phenomenal linebacker for that defense. He's going to be playing college ball. Donovan Kaufman's going to Vanderbilt. I thought he was an LSU recruit. Donovan's going to be a great player at Vanderbilt as a strong safety or running back. He's phenomenal. He just wasn't tall. You got Stephen Cage, he's going to a small college to play college football, was a linebacker for the team. Sean Grimes was a really good DB on that team on defense. And then, we can call him kind of defense, but their kicker, Patrick Vanderbrook, who's going to Nicholls State, was a very good player for them as a punter. So, 7 starters on defense signing college scholarships, which it's not just the number 7, it's 7 seniors on the defense of a high school team, which is impressive. You don't see that every day. You'll see a lot of players sign off of a high school team sometimes, but not 7 on defense in 1 year. But this group played together for 3 years. All these kids I'd mentioned were 3-year starters, some 4-year starters. And it's a special group, and they won the state championship. So Catholic High Baton Rouge will have a chance to go back and win it because they were a little bit younger team. But, you're glad that Rummel won it because of all these seniors that never won a title. This group never had a state championship or didn't even play in a state championship game in those 3 years until 2019. Appreciate your writing to us, Lester. We got one more question, which is a pretty good question, too, out of Homa. We got Joe in Homa asking me, Lee, how good will Nicholls State be in football in 2020? That's a good question, Joe. The key is, Chase Forcade is finally graduated. It seems like Chase has been there for 30 years. Speaking of Rummel, Chase is from Archbishop Rummel. And he was phenomenal. He'll go down as the greatest quarterback to ever play at Nicholls State. I mean, a 4-year starter as a true freshman at a time where the program was really trying to get back with Tim Rebo, who's done a phenomenal job, and he helped bring the program to new heights. So Chase is going to be remembered not just as a 4-year starter, about what he did, what kind of impact he made on this program that was, prior to Rebo, it was a 5-win team a year, 4 wins a year, 3 wins a year, even 2 wins a year. And now it's an 8 to 9 win team, 10-win team every year. It's a team that goes to the 1AA playoffs, that competes for conference championships. And now the team is loaded, Joe, and I think it's all going to depend on quarterback, but let me throw some names out there. Everybody says that Lindsey Scott's going to be the starter because Lindsey Scott transferred in the portal and left Missouri to transfer to Nicholls State. Now, before Missouri, Lindsey Scott was at a junior college in Mississippi, and before that he was at LSU. And Lindsey Scott's got all the talent in the world, right? But let me throw these other names out that he has to beat out. And this is why Nicholls State is not the old Nicholls State. They got so much talent. Let me name you these other quarterbacks that are all from Louisiana, by the way, and they all have great pedigrees. Caleb Lee. Remember him that won a state championship with Edna Carr? Well, he's going to be a sophomore at Nicholls State as a quarterback. Runs a 4.540. Remember Andrew Robeson that went to Hahnville? Great quarterback. He's coming back to compete for the starting position. Remember Cohen Grenier, quarterback from Destrehan that won a state championship? He'll be a redshirt junior quarterback for Nicholls State. And remember Cameron Dartes, who won a state championship for Catholic High Baton Rouge. Yeah, he's a quarterback for Nicholls State. So we can all say Lindsey Scott will be the outright winner, but it's that big but. Look at all the kids I just named that won state championships. And, by the way, Lindsey Scott won a state championship. All these are state championship quarterbacks from Louisiana. So Lindsey's got 4 really good players to beat out. And in the past, Nicholls would be hard-pressed to have one of these kids on the team. 7 years ago, Nicholls would be trying to sign a junior college quarterback that may or may not could play. But that's how recruiting has changed at Nicholls State. And you got to take your hat off to Tim Rebo and his staff. But you can thank Chase Forcade and some of those special kids that came in the program, 5 years ago that changed the program. His first recruiting class was phenomenal. Sully Lachey, who from Lutcher that had a 4-year career, and Evan Veyron from Riverside, and several other players that came in the program. And Nicholls is very talented at running back. They were one of the most talented running back offenses in all of Division I AA, Subdivision I. But to answer your question, Joe, if they can get this quarterback position figured out, which is safe to say they're going to have a great starting quarterback, whether it's Lindsey Scott, Caleb Lee, Andrew Robertson, Grenier or Cameron D'Artes, they got a chance to go to the playoffs again and maybe try and win this thing, win it all. They got a chance to win it all. I think in 2020, Nicholls State has a great chance to win the whole thing. This is the year to do it. This is the team to do it if they can have just good quarterback play. Just good quarterback play, not great. They're talented. They're more talented than anybody right now in the Southland Conference going into 220. Now, Sam Houston will be good. Northwestern will be improved. Southeastern's going to be good. McNeese, I don't know how they're going to be because they just haven't been the old McNeese, but that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with Southeastern being better and Nicholls better. Incarnate Word is going to be better, but at the end of the day, no one will have the talent Nicholls State has. Trust me, I'm telling you right now. In that conference, it's a runaway if Nicholls stays healthy as a team. And Nicholls has depth. O-line, D-line, linebackers, DB, receiver, running back, and like I just said, quarterback. And I hope Lindsey Scott, being the older quarterback on this team and being a kid that doesn't have a lot of time left, I hope he finally flourishes in this system and has a phenomenal year. I hope he throws for 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, which he's capable of doing like he did in junior college and like he did in high school from Zachary High School. We're going to go ahead and end the show with that, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure, again, to download any of our shows if you're a fan of the show. That helps us with stats. It helps us grow. But if you're a fan of the show and you love the show, please download the show for us. We can use that to go out and show businesses that we have. That is really only our proof to show who's listening, which we're still trying to figure out the total listenership, which we think it's twice the amount of our downloads right now. But because we're sending it out to over 6,000 people just in emails every week in the state, including parents and coaches. And I hope you're enjoying this, coaches and parents and people in the media. Or friends of mine that get the email also. But I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.